All right. Greetings and salutations, people in the internet. What's going on? It's your boy, the Nomad. And today's episode is going to come to you as another Critique the Clip episode. Now, we're doing something a little bit different. I want to go ahead and set it up as a reaction based episode so that you guys can go ahead and get the raw and the real on how I feel about some of the clips that may be sent in to me. Today's clip is sent to me from one of my homies, and it's titled Modern Women Have Destroyed Society. Now, what I'm seeing in this picture right here, or rather this thumbnail, is that we got the girl Pearly Things, and she's been blowing up on YouTube as of recent. So I've been seeing a lot of her. Now, apparently, she's gonna give us a take on how she feels about women. I'm not too sure everything that's gonna go on in this clip, but let's go ahead and get into this and see what we think.
What percent of men actually get laid? The other guys face consequences for their decisions. Like that's the whole point. Is like
Sure.
like men, when they make a bad decision, they always have a consequence. Women don't, and that's why women are worse, because one gender has consequences, one doesn't. And to say it's like equal, I just think isn't like fair, because like men, when they make a bad decision, they have the consequence immediately, where women don't. We're bailed out of everything.
How are we bailed out of everything?
Okay. Every bad decision that you make, you're bailed out of. If you want to sleep around, there's birth control. If you get pregnant, you don't want to keep it, there's an abortion. If you get pregnant and you want to get married to the guy and leave and take half, you can do that. And you can do it under the guise of being happy. And, and society will accept you, and some simp will probably marry you after. And then on top of that, if you're bad with your money, what are you going to do? You're going to go to a women's shelter, or the government will pay you. If you leave and you're a single mother and you're the fifth baby mama or whatever, you can also go to the government. They'll pay you.
Okay, so a lot to unpack there. Okay, so one thing that I want to go ahead and start off with is that I'm in complete
What
disagreement.
percent of men actually get laid?
Now, as far as the beginning of the clip, it was talking something about what percent of men get laid. That's a whole nother topic, but let's get into some of the meat and potatoes of what she discussed in this clip and why I think that this is actually harmful. This is not quite the best way of thinking. Now, I want everybody out there to know that when I'm speaking, this is not for bashing. This is not to discuss on how these people are as individual people. But on this channel, I like to critique ideas. The whole premise of critiquing the clip is simply critiquing ideas. I love everybody. I love you all. This is all so that we can grow and truly come to an understanding, which is why I'm going to leave my comments open for anybody who's willing to discuss. If you have something that you want to discuss with me in regards to how you guys feel about this kind of clip, and maybe there's something I can be informed on, let me know. But in regards to what she said about men and women not having equal consequences, so that makes us not equal, I feel as though that's kind of a false assessment. I think one of the things that she may be thinking about, and she could correct me if I'm wrong, she could be in the comments, or y'all could be in the comments, is that she feels as though since the percentages of people punished for certain crimes may be disproportionate, or this is an assumption that I'm making rather, because this is typically the type of propaganda that's pushed in the red pill community, is that unequal outcomes show that there's lack of equality for men. So I'm assuming that the reason why she's even making this argument is simply due to the fact that when it comes to unequal outcomes for men, when it comes to prison sentences and stuff like that, that must mean that women get bailed out of everything, or they're committing as many crimes or doing the same amount of things and just not getting charged for it. And she would be highly mistaken. So one of the main reasons, and you can even research somebody like Dr. Jordan Peterson, I think even brought some of this up. One of the reasons why when it comes to violent crime or crime in general, that men are disproportionately represented within the court system isn't simply just because we have a unequal disadvantage, in the court system. It's also because when it comes to crimes, men are just more likely to commit them, period. It's due to our mentality, where women will go and try and destroy things socially. We get physical, and that can lead to a plethora of different things. So as far as being punished, I can't quite agree with her on that. And another point that she made that really was confusing was being bailed out of the sexual market thing with birth control. Birth control doesn't bail a woman out of responsibilities. Now, if you want to talk about abortion, yeah, we can go that route, but I'll be honest, that's a can of worms that I'm not going to address currently. But to make sure that I'm getting everything, let's go ahead and watch this little clip one more time. Let's get through it.
The other guys face consequences for their decisions. Like that's the whole point. Is like
Sure.
And let's pause right there real quick. Let's stop on that. Chop this up piece by piece. As far as facing consequences for their decisions, everybody faces consequences for their decisions. She may be being a little bit sarcastic or whatever, or maybe being hyperbolic in this instance. But in regards to people facing consequences, it's not women, face no consequences. Everybody faces consequences. If women didn't face consequences, there would be no women in jail. Zero, not a zip. But there are plenty of women in jail, just like there are plenty of men in jail. If you want to argue sentencing, we can get on that, but you would have to bring up some evidence to argue otherwise. There's so many different factors that go into sentencing, such as locale, such as the judge, such as the state laws, all that different stuff. The jury at the time, is so many things that go into sentencing. So you would have to really pull up some significant evidence to sway me otherwise into thinking, okay, it's quite obvious, and we can declaratively say that men are unfairly destroyed in the court systems and are giving harsher consequences unequal to that of women.
like men, when they make a bad decision, they always have a consequence. Women don't, and that's why.
Yeah, also don't believe that. There are plenty of people who are men who make decisions, have bad decisions, and don't get consequences. I'm not going to say all, but there are plenty of people out there, I'm sure, who've ran into that guy who just had everything handed to him on a silver platter and he received no consequences based off who he knew, where his status was, yada, yada, yada. It's not that men don't receive consequences. Some do, some don't. Some women do, some women don't. These overgeneralizations really put people in a hard spot because when you start making these declarative statements, you're really going to have to hit heavy when backing it up.
Women are worse because one gender has consequences, one doesn't. And to say it's like equal, I just think isn't like fair, because like men, when they make a bad decision, they have the consequence immediately, where women don't. We're bailed out of everything.
How are we bailed out of everything?
Okay. Every bad decision that you make, you're bailed out of. If you want to sleep around, there's birth control. If you get pregnant, you don't want to keep it, there's an abortion.
Okay. So in regards to women sleeping around, birth control doesn't fix STDs. Now, condoms can, but that's not 100% as well, and that also falls on men. That's a consequence that they have. Women and men both face the consequences of potentially fighting STDs if they sleep around. That's a natural consequence. That's inevitable, Now, in regards to the abortion thing, once again, like I said, that's a can of worms that I'm not going to fully address today. But a lot of people think that you can just rapidly push out abortion after abortion after abortion. The consequence here is that it's going to limit your ability to conceive if you decide to finally have a child. There's complications that can arise from that. But I digress. So in regards to the birth control thing, I think I'm going to stick with that. Birth control, one, isn't 100%. However, there are some methods that are a lot higher, up in the 99s. I believe it's the IUD or whatever it's called. The one that goes in the arm. However, that does not fight STDs. That is a consequence. Now, I'm not sure if the consequences that she's talking about are present within, if she's simply addressing societal consequence, because if we're addressing societal consequence, women are obviously shamed for having high body counts. And there may be some of you out there who say, well, no, not in today's society. You know, you got so many slut walls, yada, 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 this, that, and the third. I hate when people bring up those examples. I really do. Because if you're talking about a group of people who decide to be the loud minority, but it's an ass load of y'all who are all agreeing at the dinner table that, yeah, women shouldn't be sluts, this, that, and the third, and that I hate what this generation is doing to women, all this, that. There are people like Pearl. There are plenty of people in this quote unquote red pill community who are fighting against that specific subject. So if Amber Rose can go and do a slut walk, and at the time 21 could be with her, and you got so many people fighting against shaming women for promiscuity, you also have another set of people who think the opposite. It's called living in a free country. The only difference is it's just that these individuals who feel this way have power over the things that you deem important or some of the products that you use. Instead of getting upset and claiming that it's society's fault, how about you go establish yourself somewhere else and create your own platform to push this narrative? For instance, with what Pearl here is doing. She's speaking her mind on the opinions or on the issues that she has, and gives her opinions on said issues. So it's not that society is leaning a certain kind of way. You just hear a loud minority and assume that's all of society.
If you get pregnant and you want to get married to the guy and leave and take half, you can do that, and you can do it under the guise of being happy.
Oh, let's stop with that. That's another thing. Another thing that's pushed into society is get married, take half. I don't know what is up with today's society and not hearing a prenup. I'm a married individual myself. I had the blessing of me and my wife coming to an agreement and signing a prenuptial agreement on some standards that we have for our marriage and how we was to proceed if we were to have a divorce, and even certain things like our responsibilities within the marriage to prevent divorce. So with that being said, the prenup thing is so thorough. It can be so thorough and as in detail as you want it to be. And you're going to hear so many people say she could claim she signed it under duress. That does not always fall through. Now, if it can fall through, it is up to you as a grown man to establish these agreements and make sure that there's no legal binding to be under duress or anything like that before you sign on that dotted line. We always say these are grown men with consciousness and everything like that, but we don't want to hold them accountable if they make mistakes like that. I'm not going to say that it all falls on them, because if somebody decides to screw you in the divorce operation or the divorce process, then obviously they're not the best person. But at the end of the day, you still have to take some responsibility for that. And let me get to the next point of this, is that women lose things too. You just don't hear about it. One of the biggest things that happened to Adele was that she pays her spouse alimony after her affair. And we're not talking about it. That's a famous situation, a celebrity, a female celebrity paying alimony to a man. And there are plenty of other situations, I'm sure, out there where women pay alimony. It's just not publicized because it doesn't fit the narrative. And a lot of people don't realize that when you hop online and you look up certain situations, when the internet is caching whatever you look up, it's going to spit that right back out at you. So I encourage anybody, if they want to find it, take some time, do some studies. Heck, if I'm wrong, come correct me. If it's like 2% and all this, that, and the third, come correct me. I'm always for it. I'm definitely one to say I'm wrong. I do not mind that at all. But the possibility of a woman paying alimony and a man taking half her stuff is still probable. Then there are so many individuals out there who will say, well, how often does that happen, or how likely is that to happen in 2022? I'm like, in 2022, when so many women are working and so many people aren't, I had a bit of a brain fart. When so many women out there are not stay-at-home mothers, but plenty of them are working, and these people are pushing this power couple narrative, it'd be easy. It'd be easy. There's a lot of women contributing monetarily to the foundations of the home, such as things that go on the inside and things that may be present on the outside. So with that being said, that enough of this narrative of women can just take half your shit and then just leave just because she's unhappy. Men, you could do the same. Go ahead and run up them numbers in. I'm joking.
And and society will accept you, and some simp will probably marry you after. And then on top of that, if you're bad with your money, what are you going to do? You're going to go to a women's shelter, or the government will pay you. If you leave and you're a single mother and you're the 5th baby mama or whatever, you can also go to the government. They'll pay you.
On that last note, and I think this is probably where I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. When it comes to what she's talking about going to the women's shelter, here's where I can meet her there. There are not a lot of men's shelters in this country. There are not a lot of men's shelters in this country. There are way more women's shelters. I think it's only like maybe 2 or 3 that I could think of that are specifically for men. But one of the things that I can say, and this is what gets me, when it comes to the vast amount of capital that's owned in this country, most of that is owned by our men. We always blame society for what's going on. But how many of you men have the money to do something but have not done that specific thing? There are so many people within this community, so many individuals with money, so many individuals with money, time, and the power to do something about it and the proper connections, but they'd rather get online and complain about it rather than change something. One of the main reasons why we got so many women's shelters is because there's men in government who feel like we need to provide for women. Let's say, okay, we have a conglomerate of individuals who like, hey, men need to be provided for as well. Well, out of the 10 that may come together, 5 of them got good bank accounts and could really start making something shake. But many don't. Many would rather complain instead of doing something about it. So as far as that, I could meet them halfway, but I'm tired of men. You know, y'all gentlemen out there, I'm tired of a lot of y'all gentlemen out there claiming that it's society's fault for the negative things and blaming women for the negative things that society can spit out. AKA modern women have destroyed the society. Now this isn't Pearl's clip, but whoever's clip this is that named it this is clearly in the wrong on this one by simply blaming that modern women have destroyed society. I believe that everybody destroyed it. I don't pick no sides. On this channel, you're going to hear me critique men, and you're definitely going to hear me critique women. It's going to be both genders critiqued evenly. I need anybody who decides to come across my content to know thoroughly. All of us, all of you, suck. Everybody sucks. There's no special category of somebody doing it better or worse. You know, overall, we're all doing terrible. Now, there may be certain things that other sides may excel in over others, but don't sit there and think that puts you leaps and bounds ahead of the opposition that you may be going up against, because I guarantee you they got your ass in a chokehold on some other stuff. But I digress. This was an interesting one. I'll hit up my homie and let him know, you know, I definitely watched through this one. It's a couple of other things that could be discussed, and I think in due time, I feel like more red pill stuff will be covered on my channel, because I feel like that's what's popping right now. It's really popping, and I have a lot to say in regards to it. But other than that, man, like I said, this is just critiquing ideas. Don't bash any of these individuals. I love you all. Y'all be blessed. No matter how.